Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Prana Chakshu Shrotramatho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahmopanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryang Ma Brahma Nirakarod Anirakaranam Astu Anirakaranam Mestu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmas ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May my limbs, speech, vital force, eyes, ears, as also strength and all the organs become well developed. Everything is the Brahman revealed in the Upanishads. May I not deny Brahman, may not Brahman deny me. Let there be no spurning of me by Brahman. Let there be no rejection of Brahman by me. May all the virtues that are spoken of in the Upanishads repose in me, who am engaged in the pursuit of the self. May they repose in me. Om, peace, peace, peace. All right. So, Kena Upanishad, we are in the second chapter. And last time I introduced the fourth mantra, which is an amazing mantra. It goes like this. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. Brahman is really known when it is known known as the self of each state of consciousness, because thereby one gets immortality. Since through one's own self is acquired strength, therefore knowledge is attained, through knowledge is attained immortality. To paraphrase it, put it very simply, Brahman is known in every experience, and thereby one becomes immortal, or one realizes that one is immortal. Brahman is immortal. And Atmana Vindate Viryam. Atma here refers to the mind. So in the mind, the fourfold qualifications, in our personality, the fourfold qualifications are acquired, which make us fit for enlightenment. Vidyaya Vindate Amritam. By enlightenment, by knowledge, by realization, one attains immortality. This is the mantra. Now, I was saying that this is one of the most important mantras. This is the most important mantra in the Kena Upanishad. It is one of the most important mantras in all Upanishads, in all of Vedantic literature. It is, in my list of favorite mantras, of course, the top will be the Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, you are that, from the Chandogya Upanishad. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I am Atma Brahma, this very self is Brahman, from the Mandukya Upanishad. Prajnanam Brahma, from the Aitariya Upanishad. So these are, they express the identity of the Jivatma and Paramatma, the sentient being and the ultimate reality. You are that. Basically, they all tell us you are that. Of course, they are very important. They tell us the essence of the whole Vedanta. But also, other amazing mantras are there. For example, way up there in my list is the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahmananda Valli, where it says, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is infinite existence consciousness. Then again, in the Isha Upanishad, the first line, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. This entire world of the moving and unmoving is pervaded by one divinity, by Brahman or Atman. Then again, Mandukya Upanishad, the seventh mantra, the masterpiece. It's neither the sleeper, not the waker, not the dreamer, not something in between. It's not an object of the senses. It's not something you can express by language. It's not something that you can conceive of by the mind. It is not something within transaction, but it is the self, and it is the auspicious Shiva. It is and it is non-dual. It is beyond all suffering, prapanchopashamam, beyond the suffering of the universe. And it is the self to be known as the non-dual self, Advaitam, Chaturtham Manyat. It's the fourth. So on. That's the seventh mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad. So another one is there. Atmanam ched vijanyat ayam asmiti purushaha kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. If I realize the Atman to be such that I am existence, consciousness, bliss, if this is true, and if I realize it, then desiring what and for whose sake should I continue to suffer with the body, with the mind also? So this is uh, another amazing mantra. So in this rarefied category of wonderful Upanishadic mantras belongs this one. It is fully in the company of equals there. Pratibodha viditam matam. It's just a phrase. Not even the whole mantra, not even one line. It is one phrase, a part of the first line of the mantra. Pratibodha viditam matam. And it is so dramatic that earlier we were told it is other than the known, other than the unknown. Atman or Brahman, our real nature is other than whatever you know, it is other than the known. Whatever is unknown, it is other than the unknown. It's not what you see, it's not what you hear, it's not what you, it is the that by which everything is seen, it's that by which everything is heard. It is not what is worshipped here as this. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. And then it was said even more paradoxically that avijñātam vijānatam, vijñātam avijānatam. Those who know, it is unknown, and those who claim they know it, they do not know it. To them, it is unknown. So to the knowers of Brahman, it is not an object of knowledge, and to those to whom it is clearly an object of knowledge, they are not knowers of Brahman. Having been put in all these ways, subtle ways, now there is a dramatic turn, really dramatic turn. What is the dramatic turn? Full realization. Shankaracharya will say, this is the full realization, the full enlightenment, the correct enlightenment. It will be expressed now. Upanishad, the teacher will say, in another very dramatic twist, will say, how is Brahman known? It seems to be so subtle, so paradoxical. He says, no, Brahman is really known in every experience. When is Brahman known? All the time. Where is Brahman known? Everywhere. In which knowledge is Brahman known? Which is the knowledge which gives you knowledge of Brahman? Every knowledge. Every experience, every knowledge, it gives you experience of Brahman. So this very dramatic turn will come now. As I said, this Upanishad is full of twists and turns and always full of surprises. And this is one of the greatest surprises, this mantra. If one realizes, I mean, I'm not exaggerating, if one understands this mantra, not even this mantra, this phrase, Pratibodha viditam matam, that much. If one understands this phrase, Pratibodha viditam matam, one is in a hair's breadth of enlightenment. One is just one step away from enlightenment. If you just understand this, after this, it's just a matter of deepening that understanding, of getting clarity in that understanding. All right. Now let us go. Last time I had made some general remarks about it, introducing the mantra, and today we're going to look at Shankaracharya's wonderful commentary on this mantra and the beautiful points that he raises. So, Shankaracharya starts his commentary on the mantra with two objections or two queries. First query, you said, hold on a minute, you said that if to the enlightened one, those who really know Brahman, Brahman is not known. That is, avijñātam vijānatam, not known by those who know Brahman. But Brahman is not known by the ordinary ignorant person. The one on the street, if you go and ask that person outside, if I step outside the ashram and ask, sir, do you know Brahman? He'll say, what are you talking about? They don't know it also. We ordinary people, we don't know it. Nobody in the world seems to know Brahman. So what is the difference between an ordinary person who does not know Brahman and the enlightened one, who also, it seems, does not know Brahman. You said the enlightened one does not know Brahman. And we know ordinary people, certainly they don't know Brahman. Then what's the difference? How is this person enlightened? How is that person unenlightened? What's the difference between Jnani and Ajnani, the knower and the non-knower? What's the difference? Speak plainly. That's one first question. What is the difference between the knower and the not knower? Because after all this, it's simple to understand that a knower of any subject is the one who knows that subject. So a knower of Brahman is one who knows Brahman. But you have defined it exactly the opposite. You're saying the knower of Brahman is one who does not know Brahman. In that case, it's as good as the non-knower of Brahman, as the ignorant person. What is the difference then? How are you saying this one is enlightened, that one is ignorant? Then the next question he will ask is that, see, this is contradictory. It is unknown to the knower and known to the non-knower. Then in that case, the question remains, what exactly is meant by knowledge of Brahman? What exactly is meant by enlightenment? We are no closer to the answer. We wanted to know that, you have just confused us. You're speaking in paradoxes. What is this very subtle, so difficult to express? And then which knowledge is the knowledge of Brahman? Which experience, knowledge, realization, whatever you call it. But please tell us clearly, this one is the knowledge of Brahman. Now with these two questions, you will see how dramatic the answer is. Which experience, which knowledge is the knowledge of Brahman? Which experience is the knowledge of Brahman? And the answer now is very dramatic. Every experience is knowledge of Brahman. Every knowledge is the knowledge of Brahman. If you realize, if the one who sees Brahman in every experience, in every knowledge, that one attains immortality. That one has truly realized Brahman. So we must understand this now. This is an extraordinarily skillful presentation, as beautifully possible done for our benefit, trying to unveil Brahman, to show us Brahman right here, right now. Pratibodha viditam matam. So page after page, Shankaracharya will investigate into that. What is meant by this? I'll read out portions of his commentary. Yadi Brahma atyantam eva vigyatam. If Brahman is completely unknown, Laukikanam Brahmavidam cha vishesha prapta, then there is no difference between ordinary people and the enlightened ones. Because ordinary people also don't know Brahman, and you are saying enlightened ones also don't know Brahman, then what difference is there? Then he says, this definition which you have given us about enlightenment, avigyatam vijanatam, for those who are enlightened, those who are knowers of Brahman, they do not know Brahman. This is paraspara viruddham. This is mutually contradictory. The knower of Brahman should have at least this qualification, that knower of Brahman knows Brahman. The non-knower of Brahman should have the qualification that the non-knower of Brahman does not know Brahman. But you have switched it around. You're saying the knower of Brahman does not know Brahman and the non-knower of Brahman knows Brahman. What does this mean? Then in that case, what is knowledge of Brahman? Katham tu tad brahma samvyak viditam bhavati. Then that Brahman, how is it properly ascertained? You tell us, according to Upanishad, according to the teacher. Please tell us precisely what is real enlightenment. That's the question. Which experience, which knowledge of Brahman, according to you, is knowledge of Brahman? And the answer is every knowledge of Brahman. Every knowledge is knowledge of Brahman. And Shankaracharya says, Pratibodha viditam matam. We must first understand the phrase Pratibodha. So he says, Bodham bodham prati viditam. Pratibodha viditam means bodham bodham prati viditam, which is experienced in every experience, which is found in every thought. All right, let's put it this way. What is an experience? I've often said consciousness plus object is an experience. But how does it actually play out in our day-to-day life? When we are seeing something, that's an experience. What's happening? There is an object in the world outside. And the eyes get that data, get the information. And the eyes transmit it to, at that time they did not know about the functioning of the brain. They went directly to the mind. The sense organs transmit it to the mind. And in the mind, a wave is set up, a movement is set up, a thought emerges. This is called technically a vritti. Any movement of the mind is called a vritti. And each vritti, each movement of the mind has a content. So if I see a tree, there'll be a vritti in my mind about a tree, a visual perception of a tree. And that vritti will have its content, tree. Now, the consciousness, I am consciousness, consciousness reflected in the mind illumines that vritti. And then I get the knowledge, I am seeing a tree. So let me repeat the whole procedure. It happens in a flash, in a blink of an eye. When you look at something, and this applies to all sense organs, suppose seeing, when you look at something, the eyes will gather the information about that, suppose the tree, and then in the mind, there will be a chitta vritti, a movement in the mind with the content tree. And consciousness shining in the mind will illumine that content and will illumine that vritti, including its content. And I will say, I will have the experience. Now I will have the experience. I am seeing a tree. So consciousness plus object is equal to experience. What is the object? Tree. And there's consciousness plus the tree is experience of tree. But remember, in between, so many processes have to take place. There must be a sense organ, there must be the mind, and in the mind there must be the movement about the data coming from the sense organ, and that movement, that vritti must be illumined by the consciousness shining in the mind, and so on. So this is the whole process. Now, throughout the day, we have various vrittis. That's basically our life. Throughout the day, we're sometimes seeing, we are hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, sometimes internally, without any external impulse. Internally, vrittis come up from memories and desires and ideas. And all of these come in a series. Vrittis are coming and going in flashes throughout the day. And all of these are illumined by consciousness. And we are getting experiences. Experience 1, 2, 3, like that. And that series of experiences, sometimes visual, olfactory, auditory, then tactile, sometimes mental, emotional, intellectual. All this series of experiences is basically what we call our life. This series of experiences is called bodha. The series of experiences is called bodha. Specifically, bodha refers to the movement in the mind, chitta vritti. Bodha is any kind of conscious experience. But specifically, the conscious, if you narrow it down, where exactly is the conscious experience taking place? In the mind, in the movement of the mind, illumined by consciousness. And always keep it real. Notice, yes, in my mind, I have these experiences. Don't say I had the experience of seeing in my eye. Nobody feels that. We all feel it ultimately in our mind. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. These are just instruments, the sense organs, but the information is gathered, presented to the mind, and finally experienced in the mind. So that bodha, that vrittis arising and falling in the mind, those are called bodha. And now he's saying, in every bodha, Brahman is recognized or Brahman is known. This is very strange because each bodha reveals an object. If there's a bodha about a tree, then I have experience of tree. If there's bodha about sky, I have experience of sky. If there's bodha about mobile phone, I have experience of mobile phone. Bodha about a cup of tea, I'll have experience of cup of tea. But how are you saying all bodhas, whether sky or tree or mobile phone or cup of tea, all of them are revealing Brahman? That's what he's saying. All of them are revealing Brahman. Bodha shabdena bodha pratyaya uchyante. By the word bodha is meant the vrittis of the mind. Bodha pratyaya means buddhi vritti, movements of the mind. Movements of the mind is meant by the word bodha. Now, sarve pratyaya vishayi bhavanti yasya sa atma sarva bodhan pratibudhyate. All right, now we have to go a little deep into it. All these bodhas, these pratyayas, these vrittis, these movements of the mind, they're all illumined by consciousness. They're all shining in each one as it arises is illumined by consciousness. And this consciousness is common to all of them. Without that consciousness, experience will not arise. There may be a tree, there may be eyes, there may be mind, but and there may be a movement in the mind. But unless consciousness illumines it, we will not have the conscious experience, I see a tree. So consciousness is present in all these bodhas. Now remember, the objects of our experiences continuously change. Now it is a tree, now it is the sky, now it is a cup of coffee, now it is a mobile phone, now it is some voice. So these are all objects of our experience. And corresponding to these objects of experience, our bodhas also keep changing. Our pratyayas also keep changing. There is a bodha or pratyaya, or same words, multiple words I'm using for the same phenomenon. Bodha, pratyaya, chitta vritti, all of these are just movements of the mind. For each object, there will be a separate movement of the mind. So, tree akara vritti or bodha. Sky akara bodha. Whatever the object, there will be a bodha about it. Objects are changing, bodhas are changing, or vrittis are changing, and our experiences are changing. But there's only one thing which is not changing, which is the common consciousness, is the one light which illumines all these bodhas, the one light which generates, because of which all these experiences arise. Experiences are changing. Our whole life is a series of experiences, each experience different from the other. But why is each experience different from the other? Because the objects of experience are different. Because the vrittis corresponding to those objects are different. But there is something common to all those experiences, and that is consciousness, that is awareness. You might say, why should I say there's something common? Well, do we not say it is my experience? The tree experience was my experience. I experienced the tree. The sky experience was my experience. I experienced the sky. I experienced the mobile phone. I am experiencing the lecture. So this I is common to all of them. This experiencing consciousness is common to all of them. That does not change. Let me put it in language of modern philosophy of mind. The first person experience is common to all experience. First personness, subjectivity. It is my experience. It is not just an object. It is just not a visual sensation. It's not just a movement in the mind. It is a living, conscious, aware experience. This living, conscious, aware, this is common to all experiences. So this is called the witness of all these bodhas. And they are all present in all the vrittis, in all the experiences, sensory experience, all five senses. And our mental experience, emotional experience, mental experience, pain and pleasure, desires, intellectual, waking, dreaming, even sleeping. All of them, the illumining consciousness is constant. And it is available in all of these bodhas as the illumining factor, as the experiencing consciousness. Objects are different, experiences are different, the vrittis are different, vrittis or bodhas are different, but the experiencing consciousness, I, the self, is constant. So this is what he's saying. For all these bodhas, they are all objects, not only the external tree is an object. My thought about the tree, that I am seeing the tree, that thought, that's also an object. To whom? To me, the consciousness. Sa Atma, that is the self, that is consciousness. Sarva Bodhan Pratibudhyate, which illumines, which knows all the cognitions, all the vrittis, all the bodhas. Then a beautiful sentence. Sarva Pratyadarshi Chit Shakti Swarupa Matra Pratyaireva Pratyayeshu Vishishtataya Lakshyate Na Anyad Dwaram Antaratmano Vijnanaya. A very deep sentence. For Sarva Pratyadarshi, the witness of all these pratyayas. Sarva Pratyadarshi, witness of all these pratyayas. What is that? Chit Shakti. It is consciousness. It is awareness. Just check. Yes, I am aware. And I am aware of all the vrittis which give rise to experiences. This consciousness is the very nature of that witness. What is the object made of? Tree. It's made of bark and roots and flowers and all that. What is the instrument made of? Say there is a lens, and it's a biological instrument, the eye. There is an eyelid, and there's a lens, and there's a cornea and eyeball and all of that. What is the mind behind it made of? Thoughts, chitta vritti. But that witness of this mind, of the vritti, what is it made of? Consciousness. So that consciousness is the self. And it appears all the time as qualified by the bodhas. Pratyeshu vishishtataya. It appears in association with, in company with each of the bodhas. So consciousness, you see, we are all experiencing consciousness as I am seeing, I am hearing, I am smelling. In fact, this is the subject matter of consciousness studies, our conscious experiences. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, remembering, enjoying, suffering, waking, dreaming, sleeping. If you ask a consciousness studies academician or professor, what are you studying? They will tell you these things. Pain, pleasure, memory. These are the things which we are studying. What is happening here? Shankaracharya gives a deep analysis. In each of these cases, it is consciousness in association with the relevant vritti. So consciousness is appearing all the time with the vrittis. The vrittis come and go. They flit about. They arise and disappear. Consciousness is constant. And then he makes a powerful statement. Nanyadvaram antaratmano vijnanaya. There is no other way, no other door, no other portal for realizing the inner self, for realizing who am I, our real nature. It is by our regular experiences. It is available in and through all our experiences. Now, this answers the original two questions. When you say that it is to the knower of Brahman, Brahman is not known. Then what is the difference between an ordinary person who does not know Brahman and the knower of Brahman who also does not know Brahman? The answer is now given. The ordinary person knows some things and does not know other things. Among the things he does not know is this so-called Brahman. I may know physics or chemistry, but I don't know your Brahman as an object. But the knower of Brahman knows Brahman, but not as an object. For an ordinary person, all knowledge is the knowledge of objects or the ignorance of certain objects. Certain objects are known, that is, I say, I know these things. These are in the set of viditam, known. And there is so many things which I do not know. All objects, they're in the set of aviditam, unknown. And the ordinary person will think either Brahman is certainly it's not within the range of known. So it is something unknown to me. I don't know Brahman. Finished. But the enlightened one knows Brahman, but it is not in that range of known and unknown. Rather, it is that consciousness to which some things are known and some things are unknown. It is that consciousness, now using the language of bodha, it is that consciousness which he has used bodha to know certain things and has not yet used the bodha to know other things. But consciousness is one and constant there. And the enlightened one knows that. Where? In every bodha, in every knowledge. While seeing, the enlightened one sees Brahman, but knows Brahman. While hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, enjoying, suffering, waking, dreaming, even sleeping. So, the enlightened one knows that the Brahman, and that is I. He knows that it is I. Okay. Now, I want to go a little deeper into it. Shankaracharya will explain, but before that, let me go a little deeper into it. When I say that this Brahman is available, is experienced as the consciousness in all our vrittis, the consciousness in our mind, immediately we will think about, we have studied Vedanta long enough, we will think about reflected consciousness, chidabhasa. What have we learned so far? That consciousness reflected in the mind and the vrittis in the mind are illumined by that reflected consciousness. Consciousness is chit. In the mind, it is found as chidabhasa, and the chidabhasa illumines all the reflected objects, the objects in the vrittis. Reflected consciousness illumines the objects in the vrittis. And clearly reflected consciousness is not the original consciousness, is not pure consciousness, is not Atman, Brahman. After all, I have many times given the example of the mirror and the face. So in I am, this is really me. And here in that mirror, I can see a reflected face. Mirror is like the mind, like Shankaracharya says, bodha. It's like the mind, vritti, chitta vritti. And in that mirror is the reflected consciousness, like my reflected face. Now I have to go from the mirror to my real face. From that reflected face there, I have to turn this way to go to, I've often used this example. Now I have to change it. I have to refine this example and go deeper into it. Why? Otherwise, what will happen is we get the idea that there are somehow two consciousnesses. This is not true. The problem with the mirror and reflected face example is there appears to be two faces. You are a two-faced person, you might say. There is one real face and one reflected face in the mirror. Actually, there is no second reflected face. It just appears like that. There is only one face, but it appears like that. Otherwise, what will happen is when we talk like this, that in every experience Brahman is realized. What do you mean? In every experience, there's a mental vritti, and that vritti, consciousness is constant. You'll think, oh, vritti, the consciousness in the vritti, consciousness in the mind. Is that what you're talking about? Isn't that what you have till now been calling Chidabhasa, like the reflected face in the mirror? And of course, we are not that Chidabhasa. We are Chit, the witness of the Chidabhasa. So you have to go from Chidabhasa to Chit. Now, here Shankaracharya is saying something dramatic, and Upanishad itself is saying something dramatic. That Chidabhasa itself is the Chit. That consciousness which is available, which is experienced in seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, enjoying, suffering, waking, dreaming, living, dying, that consciousness which is constantly experiencing all this, that itself is Chit. However, you have to be very careful here. Let me introduce another example. Shankaracharya himself will introduce that example, the sky example, Akasha example. Now, if your windows, in a windows, square window, rectangular window, circular window, various types of windows. Actually, in windows there are grills. The grills have various shapes, but let's just say the windows have various shapes. Rectangular window, square window, circular window, triangular window, let us just say. Now, if I look at the sky through these windows, I will see circular sky, triangular sky, rectangular sky, square sky. It will look like that. Not only it will look like that, it will look that each window has its own sky. If you see the various windows, there is one sky here, one sky there. This one is circular sky, that is rectangular sky, that is triangular sky. But the fact is, and then I might speak like this. The original sky and the window sky, they have to be separated. You must realize the original sky, the real sky, apart from the window sky. I might use language like this. But what I mean there is not that there are two skies. What I mean is that rectangular sky is the actual sky. You are looking at the sky. When you're looking at the sky through the rectangular window, you're looking at the sky. And when you're looking at it through a circular window, you're looking at the sky. First of all, it is the same sky which you're looking at. Second, it is the original sky. You're looking at the original sky. You're not looking at a reflected sky or a secondary sky or some unreal sky. No, you are looking at the original sky, the real sky. And the real sky is not circular. The real sky is not rectangular. If you look at the window, you will feel, where is the sky? It is not in the wall. It is not in the floor. It is not in the ceiling. The sky is in the window. We will feel like that. Second, we will feel sky is rectangular. We will feel sky is limited, this much only sky. And then each window has a separate sky. We will feel like that. But the fact is, the sky is everywhere. And it is not limited to that window. The sky is not rectangular. Window is rectangular. Every window does not have its own sky. It is the same sky appearing in through all windows. And most important, which is what the Upanishads and Shankaracharya are pointing out, most important, which makes Vedanta living immediately. When we are looking at the sky through the window, rectangular, circular, whatever it is, we are looking at the actual sky. We are looking at the real sky. When we are experiencing consciously our eating, drinking, walking, whatever we do, we are experiencing pure consciousness. Only it has to be stripped off, separated from, in our understanding, from the associated, the characteristics of the window, the characteristics of the vritti, the characteristics of the bodha, which are inextricably, it seems to be mixed. You have to separate them in our understanding. Then we arrive at the real sky. We arrive at the Chidakasha, the sky of consciousness, the real consciousness which we are. That sounds a lot and little difficult when I say it, but it's not that difficult. Another example I've used, for example, I've given this example of sunlight and moonlight many times. So the sun is Atma, and the light of the sun is pure consciousness, it's Atma, and the moon is like the mind, and the earth is like the world. Now at night, what happens is the sun is not directly illumining the earth. At night, what happens? Moonlight is illumining the earth. Now, we say moonlight is illumining the earth, but notice a few things. Number one, the moon doesn't have light of its own. It has borrowed the light of the sun, and it is reflecting it back to the earth. And similarly, the world is experienced not by pure consciousness directly, but by the mind which borrows, let's say, pure consciousness, borrows the consciousness of Atman, or consciousness itself is borrowed, channeled, limited, directed, quote unquote, by the mind. Now, when the moonlight illumines the earth, actually, since the moon does not have light of its own, what is that moonlight? It is sunlight. It is not some secondary light from the moon. It is sunlight. It's reflected from the moon, no doubt, but it is actually the same light which is coming from the sun. Similarly, the light by which we experience the various bodhas, pratyayas, all the experiences in the mind, that is nothing other than pure consciousness. But it appears to be limited by the bodhas, like the sky seen through the window. It just like the moonlight is nothing but sunlight. The chidabhasa is nothing but chit. Reflected consciousness is nothing but pure consciousness. Now the trick is how to go from our daily experience, which experience, any experience, back to our real nature. How to appreciate this reflected consciousness as real consciousness. He says there is no other way of experiencing Brahman or realizing Brahman. He says here, Nanyat dwaram asti. There is no other door to it. One might think what the yogis do is, oh, I see. So the movements of the mind are conditioning the consciousness. So settle down the movements of the mind, stop the movements of the mind, then you will experience pure consciousness as such. So that is the way of samadhi. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Movements of the mind, they are conditioning that pure consciousness coming, and we are calling it reflected consciousness. But stop the movements of the mind, then pure consciousness will be available to us. But that will not work. For any knowledge, we need a chitta vritti. So for Brahman knowledge also, for any kind of experience knowledge, see, this thing has to be realized. What does consciousness do for the mind, and what does mind do for consciousness? Consciousness illumines the chitta vrittis. So anything that comes is experienced, is illumined, objectified by consciousness. But the mind also does a favor to consciousness. The mind magnifies, makes manifest consciousness. If there is a chitta vritti, that consciousness flashes there, and we are able to know the content of that chitta vritti, but it's also a conscious experience. So it's as if consciousness which was unmanifest has suddenly become manifest. So this light, for example, right now here, in which is coming here from this side, it's right here, this place. But the moment I put my hand there, see how the hand is shining? If I remove my hand, the light is right there, but you can't see it. But if I put my hand here, you will see my hand, but you're also seeing the light. Where? Here, in this spot, is the light. If I remove the hand, you just see space. If I put the hand, you see the hand, but also shining hand. So what the light does for the hand? It reveals the hand. If light were not there, you couldn't see the hand. But what does the hand do for the light? The hand is manifesting the pre-existing light here. So similarly, the vrittis manifest consciousness and therefore make it easily accessible or appreciable for us. Because of the vrittis, we are having conscious experiences. If we understand what consciousness is, then every vritti will reveal consciousness to us. Every vritti will reveal consciousness to us. It's another way of, let me give another example, yet another example. Seeing. Now, my eyes are there. If I keep my eyes closed, also eyes are there. If I open my eyes and keep seeing things, what will happen? Two things. By my eyes, I will be able to see things. But the things which are seen, they are also revealing to me that I have eyes which are working. If I close my eyes, I have no idea whether my eyes are working or not. If I open my eyes, then I am seeing all these objects, and I realize this is there, that thing is there. But also I realize in every experience, every seeing, I'm realizing my eyes are there, my eyes are there, my eyes are there. How are the eyes seen? One answer is eyes are never seen. Another answer is in every seeing the eyes are seen, but not as an object of seeing, as the subject, as that which is seeing all that. So if you shut down seeing, if you shut down the chitta vrittis, this pratibodha viditam matam will not work. If you go into samadhi and sit quietly in samadhi, what it will do is, it will show you when you come out of samadhi that you were there even when the mind is shut down. You are awareness itself. That will be shown. But what Vedanta is telling you, let the mind work, let the eyes see, let the tongue talk. In every experience, every conscious experience, your nature as consciousness is being revealed. That's what it is doing. If we shut down the vrittis, then this is not possible. It is like closing all the windows. So windows are not revealing the sky as such. Close all the windows, you'll never see anything. The way to see the sky is to open the windows and to see the sky and then appreciate it. In our understanding, the sky is actually not square. The sky is actually not round. The sky is not actually this big, nor is it this big. And the sky has no shape, and the sky is limitless. It is the window which is round. It is the window which is square. It is the window which is this big or this big. Because the sky is appearing in association with the windows, it seems to have some characteristic of the windows. Because you, the consciousness, are appearing in association with the bodhas, pratibodha, you seem to have the characteristics of the consciousness, of those bodhas, but they are not yours. Two things we must do at the same time. One is, while experiencing everything, we must note that all these experiences are possible because of me, the consciousness. And yet remain aloof from or distinguish me, the experiencer, experiencing consciousness, from the particulars which are experienced. Don't allow the particulars of the experience, like the shape of the windows, don't allow them to limit you, the consciousness. We'll talk more about that later. And while doing that, always be aware that consciousness which we are experiencing now, right now, is the original consciousness, is the pure consciousness, is the chit, effortlessly, continuously, choicelessly available to us. It's such a stunning pointer to our real nature. For to be Atman, to be Brahman, no amount of sadhana is necessary, nor in fact, it cannot do anything at all. What is necessary is the knowledge which will remove the ignorance about this consciousness. What is necessary is that it will remove the knowledge about the ignorance that I am this consciousness. This ignorance will be removed by the knowledge that I am consciousness. I am the Atman, or I am Chit. Now let us, using the sky example, Shankaracharya will mention the sky example. Using that, let me go a little, the process of this consciousness associated with the vrittis. How am I to distinguish it from the vrittis to arrive at my real nature as pure consciousness? Let me, before going there, let me give you another example which I have been using so far. Why I'm going to use this example? Remember, to show us that The consciousness which we are experiencing now itself is pure consciousness, is Atman, is Brahman. How? So this one, crystal. I've used this to explain upadhi earlier. So if I, this is the nature of that crystal. It is colorless basically. But if I hold it like this, you will see the green. It will look green because the wall behind it is green. If I hold it like this, it will look orange because the cloth behind it is orange. If I hold it like this, it will look pink because the hand behind it is pink. If I hold it like this, it will look white because the paper behind it is white. But note, by itself, it is not green or orange or pink or white. It's colorless. Also, one more thing, this is the one point I want to make. Whether it is looking green, whether it's looking orange or white or pink, all the time you are actually looking at the original crystal. The original, this is always present. This is always, you are looking at the original thing itself. It's, don't fall into the trap of thinking chit and chidabhas are two different things. The square or triangular sky in the window is different from the real sky. No, no, no. It is the real sky. The limitedness of the sky is due to the window. The squareness or the triangularity of the sky is due to the window. The sky by itself has no form, not square, not triangle. The sky by itself is limitless. But though when we look at the sky and it looks triangular or it looks square, and what am I saying? The sky is formless. What does it look like? Triangular. What does it look like? Square. You see the problem there? When you're looking at the sky through the window, the sky looks square and you're being told sky is formless. It is not square. So what we must do there? We must understand the squareness has come from the window, not from the sky. Again, when we look at the sky in the window, it appears to be this much only. And we are told sky is limitless. It is everywhere, but it looks this much only. It is available. It is available only in that window. If I look at the wall, no sky. Only in the window it is available. But I'm being told it's everywhere. Also, I'm being told sky is infinite. But how big does it look? It looks this big. Then again, I must understand it is available in the window because the window is channelizing or giving me a portal to the sky. And that size limitation is limitation of the window, not of the sky. While looking at the sky through the window, we do that all the time. When I'm looking at the sky through the window, we never think sky is triangular, sky is square. We never think sky is so small. We never think the sky is only in the window. We think we know sky is everywhere. Sky has no form, and sky is not triangular. Sky is limitless. Also, you know all that. Like that, while experiencing consciousness in every vritti, don't allow the vritti to condition that consciousness. And at the same time, don't think that you are not experiencing Atman or Brahman. You are. You are. That's the delight of it. While experiencing, I'm telling you, this crystal is colorless. But the problem is when you look at it, it looks green. Looking green, you must understand it is colorless. Looking orange, you must understand it is colorless. Similarly, though consciousness appears angry, appears restless, you must understand it is not angry, it's not restless. If consciousness appears to be impure, it's not impure. If consciousness appears to be sinful, it's not sinful. It's the mind which is sinful, no doubt about it. But consciousness by itself. And while experiencing all this, don't think that there is some more. This is the reflected consciousness, and one more consciousness is there. When I say crystal is colorless, don't think, oh, I see crystal is colorless, but this one is not the real crystal, then it is green colored. No, 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 you're looking at the real crystal. And it is not green colored, though it appears to be green colored. Enough. Now you more or less understood. Yes, let us apply it to the actual teaching. Where, first of all, where do we find consciousness? Now remember the crystal example, the the window and sky example. Remember the window and sky example. That's very, very good. Window and sky example. My first question is, where do we find consciousness? And our answer will be always in the mind, within ourselves, in the mind. I don't find consciousness in that book. I don't find consciousness in that hand. I find consciousness in the mind. It is like saying, where do we find the sky? In the window. Where is the sky actually? Everywhere. Where do we find consciousness? In the mind. Where is consciousness actually? Everywhere. While experiencing consciousness internally in the mind, like we are all doing, know it to be everywhere. In fact, going further, everywhere is in consciousness. Consciousness is not really everywhere. Consciousness is outside space. But space is experienced and it appears in consciousness. Okay. Now, sky example again. How big is the sky? Vast, vast, limitless. But how are we experiencing this much? This much. How big is consciousness? Vast, vast, limitless, sarvavyapi. But how much are we experiencing? Only in this body, this mind, this body, this much. That's the limitation set on consciousness by mind and body. Now you see why the language of this this Chidabhas is very useful in order to explain consciousness in the body. But actually, this is the real consciousness. The Chidabhasa which we are experiencing is the real consciousness. Just it appears to be limited in the range of this body and this mind. Just as the sky appears to be little in that window only, but it's outside the window also. Now, is consciousness pure, impure, human, animal, plant? Is consciousness rich or poor, learned or foolish? Is consciousness healthy or sick? Is consciousness mentally unstable or mentally stable? None of them. It is like the triangular window. Is sky triangular? No. Is sky square? No. Is sky circular? No. These are imposed by the windows. Similarly, it is as if sky is completely unattached. Doesn't matter what window you look through, sky doesn't care. Similarly, you, the consciousness, are completely unaffected by the appearance put on it by the mind. Mind is restless, mind is peaceful. Oh, I am very restless now, I am very peaceful now. You are not very restless or very, very peaceful. You, the consciousness, are shining through a restless mind. You are shining through a peaceful mind. You are always at peace, shantam. That is the peace which cannot be affected by the mind. Just as the sky cannot be affected by the triangular window or circular window or rectangular window. Then sky, open the window, it arrives. Close the window, sky is gone. Has the sky gone? Not at all. When you open the window, did sky arrive? Not at all. Similarly, consciousness arises, consciousness disappears. I wake up, conscious. Then I attend a Vedanta class, fall asleep, consciousness gone. Or I go to sleep, deep sleep, consciousness gone. Or people will say, anesthesia, consciousness is gone. Where is your consciousness? Waking up, deep sleep, anesthesia, these are conditions of the mind. It's like opening the window and closing the window. It has nothing to do with the sky. But from our perspective, it seems the sky is either available there or sky is gone. Similarly, consciousness. It seems to be manifested when the mind is very alert and awake. It seems to have become sleepy when the mind becomes sleepy. It seems to have gone when the mind, body, nervous system anesthetized. Mind stops. There seems to be no consciousness. In deep sleep, seems to be no consciousness. These are conditions of the mind. They have nothing to do with consciousness. They have not, you might say that, but then, yeah, it has nothing to do with consciousness, but I am in deep sleep. No, 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 you are consciousness. You are never in deep sleep. Just the window has been shut, so the sky is not visible. So, the consciousness located in this body, mind, limited by this body, mind, using the senses, is called the pramata, knower. I see, I hear, I smell, I taste, I touch, I think, I understand, I remember, I forget. It is the knower, pramata, using the instruments of knowledge, gathering knowledge about objects. It's a knower. But consciousness by itself, illumining that same consciousness, if you take it by itself as illumining the activities of the mind, whether the instruments of knowledge are working or not working, illumining the activities of the mind and senses, by itself, it is called Sakshi. Same consciousness. You can call it Pramata, you can call it Sakshi. But remember, the differences are very big. The difference will be, if you say consciousness is Pramata, that Pramata is subject to change. Uh, Pramata is sometimes knower, sometimes not knowing, sometimes awake, sometimes goes to sleep, sometimes it is a seer, sometimes it is a hearer, sometimes it smells, it tastes, sometimes it enjoys, sometimes it suffers. Those are all the conditions of the sense organs, body, and mind. In association with them, it is useful. When we talk about karta, bhokta, the doer, the experiencer, the one who is born, the one who goes from lifetime to lifetime, it is useful to talk about consciousness that way. Then we can explain all these things. But by itself, consciousness is not involved in any doing or any experiencing also. By itself, it is just the illuminer. It's not karta, it's not bhokta. Not being the doer of actions, it's not the enjoyer or sufferer of the results also. But actions, enjoyment, suffering, they happen in the presence of this consciousness. Shankaracharya, he explains all this very beautifully. So, important point, let the vrittis continue. You can talk, you can read books, you can meditate, you can sing and dance the name of God, you can carry on with your activities. In every activity, Brahman will be revealed. After all, nothing other than Brahman is being revealed. So Shankaracharya says, Ataha, therefore, pratyaya pratyagatmataya viditam brahma yada tada tanmatam tat samyak darshanam ityartha. Such a valuable sentence. Here he answers what we can sort of hammer it into your mind. Recently, we had a visitor. He's a tech billionaire from a foreign country. He came and I was showing him around. I thought he's a first-time visitor, so I was explaining this is Sri Ramakrishna. He said, you don't have to tell me. I have read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna 10 times. So later I asked him, why did you read 10 times? He said, you have to hammer it into your mind. So hammer it into your mind that this sentence, this is true realization. This, Shankaracharya says, this is the actual, the true realization, complete realization, samyak darshanam. The Advaita Vedanta realization that I am Brahman, this is samyak darshanam. What is it? Pratyaya pratyagatmataya viditam brahma yada. When you know yourself, this, what is this yourself? He uses a beautiful phrase, pratyaya pratyagatma, the inner self of every movement of the mind. Pratyagatma, inner self. Of what? Of every mental state. Mental, emotional, intellectual, perceptual, all the vrittis of the mind, the inner self of it all. Who is at the center of it? I. Who are you? What are you made of? Consciousness. Got it? Yes. That consciousness is Brahman. Done. Shankaracharya will say, tell me what problem is there now? What problem is there? It's like the sky. Know it to be the inner reality of what is revealed in every window. In every triangular window, circular window, does not matter. So no, sky is, I want that sky which is revealed when the window is made in the form of Om, then that must be the real sky, Chidakasha, Om sky. No, it can be in the form of a circle also. It can be in the form of a square also, in the triangle also, rectangle, whatever the form of the window, whatever the size of the window, same sky is revealed. That sky is the inner self of that window, whichever type of window it is, in that sense. Of course, you will know the sky has nothing to do with the windows at all. We are looking at the sky through these. Similarly, you, the Atman, you are revealed as the inner self of every experience of life, where in every experience of life, there is a chitta vritti, there is a bodha, what he calls pratyaya. Pratyaya, chitta vritti, bodha, they are all same. movement of the mind. Could be perception, could be emotional state, could be intellectual, could be mental, desire, enjoyment, suffering, global state waking, global state dreaming, global state deep sleep, all of them. Deep sleep is, in Vedanta, it is an absence of the pratyayas, but anyway, it's at that level only. Activity of pratyaya, absence of activity of pratyaya. But at the heart of all of them, what is shining through all of them is you. And that you cannot deny it's there. You just find it out. Right now it's there. That you is Brahman. Tad Brahma. This is Viditam Brahma. When you realize Brahman like that, he says, Tada Tan Matam. That is realization. Matam means realization. He explains what is Matam. Samyak Darshanam. Full realization. Proper realization. Actual enlightenment. Otherwise, there are many candidates for enlightenment. I will sit quietly, make my mind blank, so deep blankness. Somebody said, I felt complete stillness and blankness. Is that enlightenment? Is it close to enlightenment? What would Shankaracharya say? The very heart, that consciousness which revealed that deep peace to you, that is the Brahman. When you know that I am that consciousness, you are enlightened. But that consciousness is there when the mind is very disturbed also. When the deep peace is not there, when the mind is restless, anxious, exactly the same consciousness is there. Look at it through the restful window, same sky. Look at it through the restless window, same sky. It's the heart of every window. These windows are our pratyayas. When you know that, that is Brahman, you know that I am that. That is full realization. That is called matam. Now we have the whole phrase. Pratibodha viditam matam. Then a very beautiful sentence drawing out all the implications of this. Now he's going to tell us who you are, what's the nature of the sky. Sarva pratyaya darshitve, being the witness of every, being the illuminer of all pratyayas, all movements of the mind, every buddhi vritti, every bodha, every movement of the mind, being the witness. Who? You. Upajanana apaya vajjita, being devoid of arising or ceasing. On another sense, being devoid of being born or dying. Bodies are born, bodies die. The pratyayas, the movements of the mind, they arise or cease. You, the witness, you do not arise or cease. Windows are open or windows are closed. Sky is not open or closed. So, sarva pratyaya darshitve upajanana apaya vajjita, he says, drik swarupata. What am I then? Sky, already understand what the sky is. Then I am what? Drik swarupa, the seer, drashta, illuminer, consciousness, awareness. Nityatvam. Notice, you are eternal. Window may be closed, window may be open. Pratyaya may come, pratyaya may go. Body may come, body may go. World may change. You are eternal. Vishuddha Swarupa. This consciousness is not mixed up with the characteristics of the mind. Good and bad and evil and nice and restless and peaceful and spiritual and worldly. No, you are none of them. You are Vishuddha Swarupa. The sky is Vishuddha. It's not triangle, not circular, not rectangular. It is just formless, pure consciousness only. That you are. And then he says, Atmatvam, always, I am that, I am that. When you do that, all your problems are solved. If you don't do that, you'll say, yes, all this is nice. My consciousness does not come and go, but I am born, I am dying. That's my problem. My consciousness is not restless, but I am very restless. No, that's nonsense. You are that consciousness. Atmatam, you realize that this constantly available, all the time available. That I am. And only that. Not the window. The sky may say, yes, I know I am not triangular, but I am the whole sky plus that triangle. No, you have nothing to do with the triangle, nothing to do with the square. You have nothing to do with the ups and downs of the mind and comings and goings and impurities of the mind. Nirvishesha. Without any particular quality. This consciousness does not have any attribute at all. All attributes are objects. And being that consciousness, like the sky, it is the same sky in every window. Triangular window, square window, circular window, sarva bhuteshu ekatvam cha siddham. The oneness is now established in all beings. And you will actually feel it. The more you center yourself in the awareness, I am that awareness, slowly the jiva nature will become fainter and fainter. And then you will see it's quite obvious then I am the one shining here as Sarvapriyananda, but I am the same one shining in all those hundreds and thousands and countless bodies and minds everywhere as that reflected consciousness there, that manifested consciousness there. But I am, as the unmanifest one background consciousness, I am the same everywhere. Ekatvam. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Kshetragyam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharat. In all the fields, I know me to be the knower of the field. He says, gives an example here. Lakshana bheda bhavat vyoma eva ghata giri guhadishu. Just like the sky, the undifferentiated sky, in a pot and in a mountain cave. Same sky. I'm giving the window example. He's given the sky with the pot and house and cave example. All right, let's stop here. I cannot overstate the sheer power and directness of this statement, the Upanishadic teaching. Really, after this, we have no right to say, I don't know Brahman. I am not Brahman. And the consequences, the implications of that, it is a big step to take. But what he's demanding is, if you can say confidently, I am this ever-present sky of consciousness in every experience, illumining the experiences and being manifested by these experiences, but I am all the same. Then we are being called upon to say confidently, you have no problem. I have no problem at all. I have no birth. I have no death. That's of the body. So many bodies come and go. I have no depression. I have no happiness or misery or desire or limitation or frustration. So many minds and so many thoughts and vrittis are coming and going. How many will you make pure and meditative and peaceful? One sadhu said, कितने धूल के कणे, लाखों धूल के कणे एक किरण में फुरफुरा रहे हैं, कितने कितने को ठीक करेंगे आप? वैसे ही चिदाकाश में कितने ही अंतःकरण फुरफुरा रहे हैं, कितने को ठीक करेंगे आप महात्मा जी? If I am the one consciousness in so many minds, how many minds will I make spiritual, sattvic, meditative? No. I am the one consciousness everywhere. Then tell, what problem do you have as that one consciousness? None. Well, yes, I will engage myself now in and through this body to see that I myself am suffering in that body. I will try my best, engage in the, but I personally, I cannot say I have any problems. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Let me just take one or two questions and then we'll continue next. This is just the easy part. Now, huge objections will be taken up for this. The Advaitic nature of the theory of consciousness versus, this is the Advaitic theory of consciousness. The Nyaya Vaisheshika will come up with their theory of consciousness. The Buddhist will come up with their theory of consciousness. The Sankhyan will come up with their theory of consciousness. All these objections will come. Why not this? Why only this interpretation? These will be discussed. Sanket says, what vrittis bodha arise during samadhi? Depending on the type of samadhi, the highest samadhi, nirvikalpak samadhi, asampragyata samadhi, all vrittis will cease. Chitta vritti nirodha. The mind will be in a niruddha state, in the stillness, the deep stillness which I spoke about. Deepen it even further, then you get samadhi. It's like closing the window. Then Swami Preet Mahanti says, how is perception by sense organ different from perception by consciousness? Perception by sense organs is directly, it is illumined by consciousness. Sense organs, when I'm seeing or hearing something, data is going in through the senses, a vritti is set up in the mind, that vritti is illumined by consciousness. Then we get the feeling, I know. This is in Vedanta, it's called vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. In Vedanta Sar, this was discussed. The activities of the senses and the mind generate a vritti about an object. This is called vritti vyapti. And the consciousness already in the mind, consciousness shining in the mind, which we have called chidabhasa, that illumines that vritti. This is called phala-vyapti. The moment these two happen, the moment the phala-vyapti happens, when consciousness illumines, and all of this happens in less than a fraction of a second, almost simultaneously. But first vritti-vyapti, then phala-vyapti. And we say, I know, I hear, I see, I smell. So all perception, thinking, introspection, every kind of experience is because of consciousness. But it's done indirectly through the mind and through the senses by the medium of chitta vritti, bodha. Sanket is saying when vrittis arise, our awareness seems to rush outwards towards them, right? Rather than ignoring them and being aware of awareness itself. Is the consciousness of a realized person aware of both external objects that lead to vrittis and aware of awareness at the same time? Good question. Consciousness of an enlightened person is just like us. The enlightened person is also aware of objects, is also aware of thoughts in the mind, functions exactly like us. But the difference is, in our case, consciousness itself, the illuminer of all these thoughts, it seems to be veiled. Our attention never goes there. For the enlightened one, I am this consciousness experiencing everything, that's always available. It's like a person looking at the mirror and the face in the mirror and somehow unaware of the original face. But when you or I look at the face in the mirror, we may be interested in the face in the mirror. I may be shaving, I may be brushing, I'm interested in the face in the mirror. But in the background, I'm always available, that I'm always there, that I'm not this face, I'm here. For the enlightened one, it's like that. In a certain sense, Ma Sharada said it, although she said it in a more wider sense, but in a particular sense, she said, she was asked, are you always aware of your real nature? And she said, no, my child, if I did that, how would I be able to work? But whenever I want, it's available. It's never not available. And we, on the other hand, either ignorant people in the world are not interested in it at all, or we are very interested, but we seem to be unable to find it. And we are constantly being guided back to it by these texts. The enlightened one, it is normal activity goes on, but I, the limitless consciousness, I'm always available to myself. Alpana ji says, could you elaborate on the formation of Brahmakar Vritti? Yes, this I direct your attention to the Vedanta Sara, because there's no time right now. What is happening in ordinary knowledge and what happens in Brahma Jnana, the knowledge of realization of Brahman. But what is said in this mantra, Pratibodha Viditam Matan, this is after Brahmakara Vritti, after enlightenment. I realize, oh, I am that. And then after that, you don't have to keep on, I'm not the body, not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I am the witness of all of this, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. That's that's the teaching. But the enlightened one state is not like that. Enlightened one state is with eyes open, working, doing everything. Brahman, yes, available. Eyes closed, Brahman, yes, available. Not the body, not the mind, Shivoham, perfectly all right. Body, mind, all of this is also Brahman. But they know in which sense, in which particular sense. For them, the realization or quote unquote Brahman experience is unobstructed. Somebody said, an interesting counter question. Swami, isn't this just mistaking ordinary experience for enlightenment? Ordinarily, what do we do? I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm smelling, I'm tasting, I'm talking, I'm enjoying, I'm fighting, I'm having fun, I'm anxious, I'm relaxed, I'm waking, I'm dreaming, I'm sleeping. So this is what is called, is this Brahman then? That's what you're trying to say in every experience, these experiences, this is Brahman. No. Well, how will you distinguish the enlightened one's state from this, enlightened one's realization from this? Not state. Because if you remove all of these, all the vrittis are removed, suppose. Everything goes away. The cosmos disappears. Bodies and minds disappear. Nothing remains. The enlightened one, from the enlightened one's perspective, nothing has happened. Nothing at all has happened. It's exactly the same as he or she ever was. I mean, the enlightened one as ever was. Pure consciousness remains as pure consciousness. Whereas if you said, no, ordinary experience, are you calling it Brahman? Then if you do that, then ordinary experience is gone. In fact, ordinary experience is gone in deep sleep. Ordinary experience is gone in anesthesia. Once, I think Rupert Spira was debating Sam Harris, if that's not wrong, if I'm not wrong. And the question of anesthesia came up. So all these fancy consciousness ideas, anesthesia, it's gone. And Rupert Spira said, I don't think so. Recently, I was under general anesthesia, and I don't feel at any time I was not conscious. But what consciousness means to Rupert Spira is when you shut all the windows, you can still say confidently, I, the sky, am still there. Makes no difference to me. Sky example is good. If you say, oh, you are saying the sky in the square window, circular window, rectangular window, this is all of them are the real sky. That is what you are saying. I'm saying yes, but if you shut all the windows also, the same sky remains. It does not depend on opening or closing the windows. Whereas ordinary experience is heavily dependent, is entirely about these vrittis only. Swayam Preet says, when Thakur entered Bhava Samadhi, where is vritti still in action? Bhava Samadhi is an intermediate stage, where some vrittis are still there and others are held back. There is a full consciousness of Brahman, or in particular form of that bhava as Kali or as Krishna or whatever, and yet some vague awareness of the external world. So it was a very unique state. Remember, so that's why in Advaita Vedanta, this Upanishad, they will not speak about those states. Vritti and consciousness, they both need each other, to reveal each other. Then how is Advaita established? Very good question. So you must understand, what does the vritti do for consciousness? What does the consciousness do for the vritti? Bodha, pratibodha. What does the bodha do for Atma? And what does Atma do for the bodha? I mentioned earlier, Atma, consciousness, illumines all the vrittis, like the light illumining everything. It is illumined. But what does the vritti do for Atma? Vritti do for consciousness? It manifests it. Without the vrittis, it will not be obvious. What does the sky do for the windows? It allows the windows to exist. It gives space for the windows to exist. But what do the windows do for the sky? Well, from our perspective, the windows reveal the sky, though imperfectly and limited, but it reveals the sky. Similarly. Now the question will be, but then pure consciousness and vritti, they depend on each other. How is it then? Isn't it dualism? Two things are necessary then. No. Remember, pure consciousness is benefited by the vrittis as the vrittis manifest that pure consciousness. The pure consciousness does not depend on the vritti for its existence. And the vrittis, they depend on the pure consciousness for both satta and spurti, for their illumination and for their own existence, because all of these things are ultimately nothing other than pure consciousness. This question is considered very deeply and thoroughly in Brahma Sutra, again and again. Is consciousness dependent on the world? Is the world dependent? Are they dependent on each other? And he says, yes, that is true in Sankhya. But it is not true in Vedanta. Why not? Here is the answer to your question. Prakriti, nature, body, mind, vritti, they are all nothing but that pure consciousness. Through Maya, it appears in these forms. That is the meaning of Brahma. Brahma means also body, not just pure consciousness. Body also is an appearance in Brahman. Mind also is an appearance in Brahman. Vrittis are also appearance in Brahman. So, then there is only one. A good example there is the dream example. In the dream, the dreaming mind projects a dream world of people and places and activities. And then it projects into the dream world a body, the dream body. And in the dream body, the dream person is also projected into the dream, like a virtual person, avatar. Huh? And in that virtual body mind, consciousness also manifests. But The fact is, and if you say that consciousness reveals the dream world, but the dream world manifests that dream consciousness. But then the fact is that consciousness itself manifests the dream world also. Not that that consciousness is dependent on the dream world in any sense. But the dream world entirely depends on that consciousness, both for existence and manifestation. And illumination, sorry. So when we say consciousness depends on the vritti for manifestation, but the vritti is also ultimately nothing other than consciousness. So the non-duality of consciousness is not violated. Sonali says, don't add more messages. Many people are adding messages now. Sonali says, Namaste Swamiji. So in every experience, consciousness is revealed as pure subjectivity, because we can never experience anything outside our own subjectivity. However, experience requires apparent duality. So unlimited, unchanging subject can only experience itself as limited, changing appearances. Correct, but qualified. Be careful here. For example, in deep sleep, both object and subject seem to disappear. Object disappears and subject seems to disappear. This is the Buddhist analysis. When you present Advaita, it seems that ultimately the subject, the pure subject is the reality, object is an appearance. But the Buddhists will say that that is not borne out by your own experience. The subject and object seem to depend on each other like leaning stacks of hay. Remove one, the other will fall. Remove all objects, purge your mind of object, subject seems to disappear. Whether it is in deep sleep or in samadhi, seems to. The subject loses its subjective nature and remains as the background consciousness. It is equally true to say that background consciousness appears as subject and object. Sant Gyaneshwar, in his Changadeva Pashashti, he gives a beautiful example. Again, the mirror and the face. Follow this. I look at my face in a mirror. Now what happens? A face appears in the mirror. What is that face? It's the reflected face. And now, because of this reflected face, my face gets a new name, original face. In Sanskrit, the moment the mirror appears, there is pratibimba, reflection. But because the pratibimba is there, now my face acquires a new name, bimba. Similarly, consciousness appears as this world, and then itself gets a new name, subject. Consciousness appears as the objective world, and now gets a new name, subject. But without the object, consciousness cannot be called the subject, but it remains. Without the mirror, there is no reflected face, pratibimba. Then I cannot be called the bimba, the source of the reflection. Of what reflection? There is no reflection. But the face still remains. It's no longer seen as an object. What a beautiful example. Sant Gyaneshwar starts with the world. The world appears in consciousness, full of objects. And therefore, I, the consciousness, become a subject or appear. I'm called a subject. How beautiful. What has happened to me? Nothing. Priyanka says, in some activities, we lose cognition. I. Example, deep focus, daydreaming, etc. Only cognition of the vritti remains. I was performing the activities only an afterthought. Correct. After the focus dissipates. Is the common I that is referred to apart from the ego I? Why still call it I? Yes, this is an important question. But remember, that I which disappears is the ego I, which requires a little bit of cognitive bandwidth to maintain it. And that's why when you are in deep focus, we have only a certain amount of focus, a certain amount of cognitive bandwidth. And what's his name? Mihai Csikszentmihalyi has spoken about this in Focus. So when it is deep focus, you are studying something deeply, playing a game, doing neuroscience operation or something like that. If you're deeply engaged, there is no cognitive bandwidth left over to maintain the ego sense. An expert tabla player is immersed in, or an expert singer is immersed in the activity of singing or playing the tabla. If that singer or player, tabla player, thinks for a moment that I am playing and I'm doing a good job, immediately mistake will come. Why will the mistake come? Because that focus of the mind, utter absorption of the mind is now disturbed. There's a flicker in it. What is the flicker? The ego has arisen. So in deep focus, the ego disappears. But have you disappeared? Of course not. Wasn't that playing an experience? It was the highest experience, peak experience. That singing, that neuroscience operation, that it's an utter an experience of utter focus. It's what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi calls the flow experience. So you are there as the experiencer of the flow. It's only that you cannot objectify yourself as the ego there. And that's the real I, the witness of the ego. That's why you call it the I. Ramya says, regarding the knowledge of Brahman for the enlightened, is it right that they see Brahman everywhere and every time then? Yes. Also, their first time seeing is a new experience, right seeing? Yes and no. And these are subtle questions, but good questions. First of all, do they see Brahman everywhere and every time then? Yes. But it's a considered yes, just like the Holy Mother said. Are you always aware of your real nature? She said no. But it's always available to me. It's like your own name. I'm Swami. Am I always aware that I'm Swami? No. But is it always there in the background available to me? Yes. It's very clear. That's the position from which I'm operating. The enlightened one operates from the position of being consciousness. Not that the mind of the enlightened one is constantly thinking that I am pure consciousness. Not in that sense. Also, their first time seeing is a new experience. Correct. That's why the Brahmakara Vritti, the enlightenment moment, is a new experience. Sakrit Vibhati, it flashes once. In fact, one of the secondary meanings of Pratibodha Viditam Matam, I mentioned it last time, I think, is the moment of enlightenment. That's not the real meaning which we are exploring now. Multiple meanings were, did I mention the multiple meanings last time before we started? What we are talking about today is the real meaning. But the preliminary meanings, one of the preliminary meanings was Pratibodha is awakening, the flash of awakening. That happens once. Brahmakara Vritti happens once. But it reveals to you what you are, and that's always available. It's not that. Somebody said, describe the enlightenment experience. A person realizes I am Brahman. And he says it's like an EEG thing, like it goes up and down like this. So I'm Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham. Not at all. That's the surest sign that the person has not doesn't know what he or she is talking about. Not at all. It happens once, the avarana, the veil is gone, and it is unmistakably, effortlessly, choicelessly available for all time to come. It was in fact available, just that somehow, strangely, we did not see it. Shweta Singh says, the mental vrittis are always there anyway, even if we close our eyes or our senses. Don't you think we can appreciate awareness better once we are absorbed in samadhi? Yes. So here is a samadhi seeker, yogi. Yes, that is the whole argument for samadhi. But this is the difference between the Vedantic approach and the yogic approach. Krishna, Arjuna raises this question, exactly this question. Always keeping your mind on Brahman, always realizing that you are Brahman. How is it possible when the senses are always bombarding us with information, with there's a contact with the objects, it's always coming and going. Then how is it possible that I will be always aware of myself as Brahman? And that explanation Krishna gives, that matra sparshastu kaunteya agama apai tan titikshasva. These contacts with the senses, they arise and disappear. All our vrittis arise and disappear. Underlying all of them, in and through all of them, Brahman or Atman is available. And the Kena Upanishad says, instead of being an obstacle to your realization of Brahman, all these vrittis, sense organs, sense objects, all these vrittis will actually are revealing Brahman to you. In fact, Shankaracharya goes so far as saying just the opposite of this. Since the vrittis are always there, even if we close our eyes or all our senses, those vrittis are always there. Shankaracharya says, thank God those vrittis are always there. Nanya dwaram asti. There is no other door to enlightenment. If those vrittis were not there, yes, pure consciousness would exist by itself, but there will be no way of getting to it. Now we can get to it through all these vrittis. But yes, shutting down the vritti is a special way of appreciating yourself as pure consciousness. Then without any doubt, you will know this is not theory, that I am pure consciousness. That's why samadhi, Sri Ramakrishna said, samadhi na hole thik thik hoy na. Unless we have samadhi, it will not be properly done. It will not settle down. The mind can always, once in a while, catch you out.